class that was supposed to be remote. They got called in for today. Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead. It is 4:39. Sorry, we're a little bit late, but we're handing out some gifts and presents for everybody. So we'll go ahead and start with the pledge. I'll go ahead and start it.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, welcome everybody. I don't see that we have any guests. So, and if anybody notices any guests jumping in, just give me a shout so we can get going. All right, can I get a motion? So we're going to jump down to E. The agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of August 5th? First of all, any discussion or comments on the minutes from August 5th?
Sarah Linda had a couple of minor corrections. I'll make those. There's like, I think 3 word changes.
Okay. All right. So can I get a motion to approve the corrected minutes from August 5th?
So moved.
All right. A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so we have our privilege of the floor, since it's just us, I will assume. Unless anybody wants to take a moment and share anything. All right, John, anything from the development office?
Nothing, well, yes, actually. You've all received or should have, and if you haven't, let me know, an invitation to the 22nd. We're having a strategic planning session, which we very pleased with the fact that we hashtagged it TOC 2022. So the task is really to come up with 3 to 5 goals for 2022 that that are really something that we can accomplish. So really excited, and it's going to be a great night, probably 2.5 hours, 5:30 to possibly 8:30. We are going to serve dinner. We're hoping to get a food truck, still working on that, and it's gonna be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking to your announcement.
All right.
It's my wife's birthday, but I need to be at this, and we never go out in the middle of the week anyway, so.
Yeah, it's a Wednesday
I know, so I'll do something better.
on the weekend.
We'll go somewhere nicer, like Wendy's rather than McDonald's.
Bring her to the food truck.
Yeah, my dad wanted us to have our wedding reception at Ananta because it was brand new and he loved it. And I'm like, we could have a barbecue. She's like, I don't want barbecue. And now we're like, we should have a wedding reception there. It's so amazing. So we could, yeah, I could take her, so I get a birthday party. All right, so as if there are no referrals from the town board to go over. Did not receive anything from the CIC or from the ordinance committee. So that takes us to item K, which is our planning, our PRC reviews. And they are broken up a little bit. We don't have to do all of us all at the same time. So we're gonna start out with Sarah Linda on CPN 21-06. Okay, so you're gonna go to Town Canandaigua. You're gonna only have a couple open. Yeah. To the bottom. Scroll to the bottom. Let's see, 4.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you don't, I'll make sure you have it.
Okay.
Looks like, do you?
Mhm.
That's his job. So, yeah, you'll get it. I can tell you what
Yeah.
it is too. So you can get in there and use it,
Yeah.
because you need to be, all these documents that
Mhm.
we reference are all in here.
Yeah, and that's where we keep planning board stuff too.
Okay,
And all the other, if you want to open up another tab and just go to Encore.
for me.
I'm sure-
No.
I usually do Ontario County. Yeah, there you go.
Do we ever open pictometry anymore? Cause that's those.
I
awesome-
open it when I'm in
awesome
Encore.
Images that are in there.
They're right on
They're
Encore.
right in,
You can do
you
the-
can get the,
Yeah, you can-
obliques.
You can get the obliques, and
Good.
we've got March data, March
Yeah, it
imagery.
was recently,
Those are the ones that we
Recently
can
flown.
scroll back in time, correct?
you can.
Yeah, okay,
We go back to
20,
2001.
okay.
Oh,
I think I use Encore, I don't even know how many times a day. A ton. That's such a good resource.
All right, and the property address is 4351 Tishner Point Drive. Familiar ring for that. 4351 Tishner Point Drive.
I spelled it right.
No,
CHENOR.
it's OR.
ENOR.
Seeing my lovely.
I think if you just put in 4351, it'll work.
Yeah.
And then click on the,
Click on this.
Yeah.
take you. No,
Go up to find parcel by location. That's how I would do it.
We're going to picture the house.
Ah, okay, second.
By
Over.
location. By
Over,
location,
yeah,
there you
right
go.
there.
Yeah.
Then put the address in
I
there.
don't think that's so boring.
Just the
There you
number,
go.
yeah. And then select the one. No, go back. And put in the four, just put in the number and it'll give you choices of all the properties that have that number and then select the Titchener Point one.
There you go.
All right, so you're gonna wanna minimize.
If you X out,
Yeah.
and go to the right inside.
This one?
Mhm.
That's what navigation.
Okay,
So you don't have to right and navigate. Yeah. There we go. All right.
Okay, so this should look familiar because we reviewed it just 2 months ago at the July meeting. If you remember that driveway that comes down into it crosses beyond a tennis court, and they are requesting permission to realign that driveway and eliminate the tennis court. So if you go back to the board site, could you first pull up the site plan that's from back in June or July, and then pull up the current site plan?
You want the August? site
I
plan?
want the August site plan and the earlier site plan. Well, maybe the earlier site plan has been removed.
June 9th site plan.
Yeah, that
Do
one,
that
but yeah,
first.
do that one first. That's what they proposed originally, and,
Existing conditions, that one.
oh,
Yeah, that's, there's.
There we go. Yeah.
there's the next one, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see that the proposed drive goes through the tennis court. They're gonna remove all the asphalt at the tennis court and hook up to the drive that goes north and also serves all the other properties that are on the north side of Titchener Point. And we had a fairly brief discussion of it in July. The net result of it is going to be to decrease the lot coverage because we're removing asphalt where the tennis court is, in addition to removing some asphalt where the, we're making the driveway a little shorter. So it all seemed positive from the point of view of impact on the site. And okay, so now let's look at the new realigned driveway, which is very similar. It just pulls the driveway to the south a little bit more. So you can see the distance from those two mature trees, which are Crimson King maple. I think there's some big trees there. So now it's got a little bit greater distance from those trees, which is even better. That means the new driveway work is less likely to damage those trees. Other than that, I don't see any change at all in terms of the significance to the site. And there's no explanation of why they made the change. So my inclination, let's see, I'll just go through the draft report. This was reviewed by ECB for the meeting of July 8th. Removal of pavement at a tennis court and a portion of the realigned driveway. The revised plan shifts the new driveway slightly to the south, providing greater distance from two existing mature trees. No explanation for the revision. No environmental concerns were raised upon the first review, and the change does not raise any new ones. So no recommendation. ECB continues to commend the reduction in lot coverage and encourages the applicant to follow through with this inclination in the planning of any future development and site improvements. Although that's maybe wishful thinking because they most likely are going to tear down the two cottages and put up a bigger one, but that's just my guess. So are you aware of anything that is not obvious about why this change is
No.
being made?
No, we
And
didn't.
nothing came about at the meeting. I think it was just, if I were to say,
It
it
was like
was
a
just,
slight realignment.
yeah, it wasn't just probably part of the discussion with the current owners and the new owners and just trying to figure out fine tuning where they want it. No other, nothing significant that would have pushed them to move it further south a little bit. But I know that even at that meeting as well, we did recommend, anything that happens to those buildings, that they get documented. So we at least have that.
Yeah, we did ask, they know that they will be removed.
Yeah.
And that the driveway will remain until
Driveway has to remain until
they're removed.
until they're gone. Otherwise, you don't have access
Yeah.
to them. They have to have access to the building, For safety, even though they're not being used right now.
So does that mean that for a period of time, both driveways will be there, or will this project
Yes.
not happen until the removal of the house and the new development project goes ahead?
I believe they'll be on the site at the same time.
There'll be a
At
double
some point.
driveway.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, that does. But the tennis court will come out anyway.
Tennis court
So
comes out.
presumably it's still a reduction in lot
Right.
coverage, even
Yeah.
if you are adding, well, I don't know, it might be almost a wash because you're adding new pavement, but you're taking away old pavement.
And then the plan is that other drive, when everything's completed, you won't have that other driveway that's in the meantime.
And that's a gravel drive, right, as opposed to a
Yeah,
paved
it's
asphalt.
permeable, so it's
Yeah.
gravel.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions from the board for Sarah Linda on the project? Okay, any other comments to share? All right, so can I get a motion to accept the recommendations for the Fisher Point project?
Yeah.
Can I get a second?
In a second, I know, like, I did not say anything. I know these people.
Yeah. I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay. See, I don't.
Did you make the motion?
No.
No.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
sorry. Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Okay.
I would think that you would have to recuse
I don't know how
yourself.
that works. I should just keep my mouth shut. when
Yeah,
I
Rick-
see you, but
I would
see
say
you.
that you wouldn't be able to vote
Yeah,
on that.
recuse on any, yeah, anything like that,
So I
Yeah.
have to un-I for the all.
yes.
Yes,
So no.
And we will make note, that Pat refused herself and did not offer comments because she knows the people quite well who are involved in the project.
Well,
Why don't you put me down for the second, because you're not officially a member, right? You're the facilitator.
I'm just, yeah.
So I'll second it.
it. Facilitating. Okay,
those are some of my favorite songs.
I know, they're great.
Yeah,
All right, so let's go on to the next one, CPN 21-065. All right, now you can share, Pat.
is this the tree guy?
This is the tree guy.
Okay, so I went and visited, the Summit View site. And
Anything you'd like me to click?
I don't think there's a
there's some
real,
pictures in the Dan Lazaro letter, there's a report,
that's his report. That's
but there's
pretty.
pictures of the trees in there.
okay,
Okay. And there's a planting plan
Little
there.
planting plans. So,
Fuster.
Fuster, had some dead and dying ash trees on his property. He's on Summit View and Fox Ridge subdivision. And, his house is like almost right at the road. He's got some lawn on front lawn and lawn on either side of his property, but the backyard drops downhill and is quite thick with vegetation and trees and grass, and it's thick and it's a little hilly only going down. So, he hired someone to help him take down the ash trees. And, we received a call, some neighbors, were concerned, called the town, and he was asked to stop any activity of cutting down the trees. So he told me that all that he had on the property was a man and a chainsaw. And he was beginning to take the trees down, but he was halted. And then he was advised that he needs to come before the planning board, officially come before the planning board with a site plan. And he prepared his own between me and the landscaper. They prepared a few decent maps. I mean, there's like page number 4 of that report. The person who assisted him made note of each tree and did a graph, the pictures, and then made suggestions going forward as to if the planning board should decide that he needs to plant replacement trees. I guess we as ECB are asked what we would suggest for replacement trees, which the person who prepared this report was quite extensive, and he did suggest named species and what a good time for planting would be. So the property owner is of course more than willing to abide by whatever the planning board would like for him to do. Apparently, he didn't realize he had to come before the town to first say what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because the trees are within a conserved area, which means they're not supposed to disturb the vegetation. So that is what he is doing.
Can you describe the conservation area a little bit? I mean, does it
It's on
belong
the
to
map,
him?
It's on his map.
yeah.
But
So it must have been established when
So go
the
back.
subdivision
Yeah.
was first
Mhm.
designed.
Yeah.
And there is a map.
There's actually a
within this
plat,
package
yeah.
That shows,
So if you go back. Oh, sorry.
even if you can get this property on Encore, you can see how much of the property is vegetated.
Are you sharing your desktop on Zoom? All I see is all your beautiful faces. I'm not seeing anything.
No, you need to.
See where it says on this special note, go way over to the right?
Just a second, and share.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, Gary.
I don't know, Justin, are you seeing anything?
It's
No, I've
right-
just been following along from the town webpage, under the boards.
now we go up to right down,
That one?
That
Yep.
map, yes.
and then share.
That's a section of the subdivision map.
So who
This is an
holds,
older part, this is an older section of
Oh,
that.
that worked.
Great.
if there's, is there a conservation easement on this
There is,
property?
yes.
And who holds it?
Well, it says it's a is it considered an easement in proper? Or is it meant to be a conserved area? Because we've
Like
been
a
discussing
A deed restricted, I think it's a
restricted,
deed
I think is what
restricted
it is.
conservation area
not
where-
an easement.
where he owns. Because if you remember, some of the earlier subdivisions, if I remember correctly, some of the properties, they had the conserved area still on part of the property. So
Mhm.
rather than creating a separate large conserved area, they were incorporated into the
In the
properties.
property, but yeah.
So on this one, the front, half, the front portion is put to the left of the red line would be available, and anything behind it would be in that deed restricted
It's
area.
lot 81,
Yeah,
but it's like his house and some lawn, and right at his back deck is where the property
mhm.
slopes downward and is, and like 2/3 of the property is just heavily vegetated.
Yeah.
There. But now that the ash trees are dying, I guess we all have to be concerned with
Mhm.
moving forward, how to help
It's gonna-
folks handle
It's
that.
gonna be a pretty common problem.
It is, and they know they're not supposed to disturb. Well, he knows now.
Right,
Well,
But
can-
going forward, if we see any more of this coming in as applications.
and I predict, and I think the main discussion at the PRC meeting was just to encourage him to, just to replant.
Right.
And then replant things that will be more hardy and more, like we've already said.
Mhm.
Because I'm sure, you said most people who are in that situation aren't thinking they're doing anything wrong if they're
Right.
clearing dead wood. I
Right,
mean, they're just
right.
maintaining the property and they're just taking care of it, being good stewards. They're not clearing the swath.
That's what the thought
Right.
is, and I
Yeah.
do believe that he did not do anything further. Once he was
Yeah.
told he has to stop, he stopped. So,
Mhm.
whatever's been fallen is
Right,
fallen,
yeah.
and nothing's been taken yet. If he's going to, or let it be and let it like revegetate,
Mhm.
but,
That
yeah.
would really only affect people who have a conservation
Easement,
restriction.
right.
Yes.
Just everybody. Yeah.
Because in some of the other areas where you have the conservation subdivision as a larger portion, people would know. And they wouldn't, they'd know that was public, that was.
We also talked to the applicant and just had general discussion about looking at that whole area because it does extend, maybe we should pull up
He
Encore.
said that you had mentioned maybe perhaps he and his neighbors
That's
should
what we
consider
said.
that whole. swath
Absolutely.
of
Why
property.
not? I mean, look at the health of that whole area back there.
What's the house number?
Yeah.
Well, if it's holding
I'll
slope,
bring
so they
something
really
that's
need
such
to
a-
get
No, it's
trees
not.
back on it to hold slope in place.
It's like it slopes down and then it's a little bit level and then it drops down again. So the trees are like all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And I
good.
don't think there's
He's concerned because there are a few trees that look like they might be beginning to die off that are very closer to the property line, and there's below them are just 3 big homes. And, he's concerned with
That they're gonna
falling.
fall, sure.
That
Well,
might fall and-
that's good that he is. Ash trees do tend to die and then the limbs just give way without much. They shed kind of from the top. It's not.
Yeah, but you can zoom in really good to that, and you can see the homes that are below him. There's one that has solar panels on the roof and extensive patio. People put a lot into that home. Let's see, theirs is 3663, right at the lawn is where the property goes down.
Mhm.
So if I were to make a guess, it would look like as they built this was unbuildable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that again is their subdivision, their conserved area.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, you have both properties. So it really is that swamp.
It goes all the way down to the cul-de-sac circle, right about there, yeah.
Mhm.
All through here.
Yeah.
It would be helpful to see what the deed restriction language is.
Yeah, we should probably pull his deed and see if it says anything.
Well, the planning board
Yeah.
approval says that any work or any upkeep or anything that happens back there has to be approved by the
Yeah.
planning board.
Mhm.
But I can look at, I mean, I don't.
And I think that's why it got
Yeah.
triggered
We
anyway.
can
That's
get
our
this, we
code.
can ask the real property folks to send the deed, just so to see what it says as in regards to that conserved area. There might be some wording in the deed.
But I don't know if that's our,
Well, it could also be in the language, the
Thank you.
approval, the resolution of approval for Fox Ridge
Yeah.
too, phase, was that phase
That's one of the beginning ones, so.
early?
I think it was in. I think he said his house might be born in 07 or something like that, maybe even earlier.
so then what's the recommendation for that one, Pat, to just,
Well, I recommended that you had sent me a little brief email, since we don't exactly have a set native tree relation for our committee yet, for our board yet, to see the suggestion of his landscape, because that is quite an extensive report. You could even, if you wanted to pull up that report, you can see where he is making suggestions as what type of trees, native trees, would be a good idea to replace.
yeah,
Yeah, there it is.
Where is it? It's he's like saying perhaps allowing the property to just
Walnut, red oak, yeah.
Yeah.
If I was going to plant something that would get big in a hurry and be pretty stable, I'd throw in a few tulip poplars, because they grow really quickly and replace canopy.
to fill that in.
They're still pretty durable trees and native, so they will grow a lot faster than the oaks.
Yeah,
And then they were suggesting to plant, I think in the springtime.
They probably have a better chance of survival too with the deer that are back there.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so the right, so, so we're adding the tulip poplars as a suggestion?
I
You guys
would,
okay with that?
yes, I would. They
Okay.
do grow much more quickly than. oaks.
In addition to what is being
In
suggested,
addition.
in addition to what's being
Yeah.
suggested by the landscaper
Yeah.
to replace what's been lost and what was taken down.
What about suggestions that they are caged or tubed?
There's quite a few deer in there too.
Yeah, to keep them
Some
safe.
saplings, they might even get,
Yeah.
Protection. and
Okay.
So-
they might become enjoyed by the
Yes,
deer.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
we
they won't last long.
want to recommend protection.
Good thought. Yep,
Plus, there may be several hundred in that area as well with all those
He
lots.
does have,
Yeah.
on his property though, he does have little saplings growing like from the black walnuts. I took a picture or two. Just to show a little bit more detail on what the ash borer does to a stump,
Mhm.
to a tree, and then I took a picture or two of saplings that are already.
Those are great. Yeah, we were talking, the 40 steps application, we were talking to. Are you part of that? Was that PRC? They have, no, that was planning board. They have some saplings on site that are growing
Yeah.
and we encourage them to protect the saplings that are already growing,
Yeah,
just to, because they want to be there, so.
right, right. And his property is pretty thick.
all right, and yeah, it's good to have that, this kind of the first test case on that, because like you said, I'm sure we'll see more coming out.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
So we can have those similar recommendations ready to go when it comes through, and people start dealing with that issue. All right,
Oh, I just had one more thing on that.
Yeah.
Is anybody, I guess, reaching out to the other homeowners or whoever oversees that, just to make sure that the word is out to the, I guess, other landholders in the area?
yeah, what's that's Fox Ridge,
It's Fox Ridge.
so that would be a reach out to the HOA.
Yeah, which we have a very good relationship with here.
Right.
They just had their annual meeting.
Okay,
I know that, what's the pine that's got the airborne disease? Not pine.
The hemlock,
hemlocks.
the Willie Adelphia.
Come off Willie Delta.
Yeah, they're having issues with the,
Hmm.
so they're gonna lose all the hemlocks, I think, over there.
Probably not all.
Not all, but
No.
many.
Encouraging gypsy
It-
laws, hemlock, Willie
Well,
Delta,
that's it.
emerald
Hopefully it's only a,
Oh,
hopefully, 7-year cycle or something.
Right.
and then-
oh, wow.
Right. Okay, so yeah, Jessica, can we note that too, that to reach out to let Fox Ridge know that this Fox Ridge HOA, do you have their contact?
Yeah, I
info?
have their contact.
Okay,
info.
can
I'll
you
do that.
Okay. That Sean will reach out to Fox Ridge HOA and just let them know that we have seen this, and just so they can let their people know. And even if it's something that does need, it will need to be taken care of, then do it as a group effort, and then it all gets done, at,
At least then all the people.
At least all-
Their lots could be notified.
Yeah.
right, and they don't need to worry about doing it, and then if we have a system set up, and they figure out a way to deal with it that works within the restricted areas, then we don't have to have individual property owners going back to the planning board, because they tried to take care of what they had.
Right.
Just
And you
a
could do,
a remediation plan when that issue comes up.
If they do it as a group, maybe they could get volume discounts for
Absolutely.
buying the
On the
trees
planting,
as
yeah.
well.
Clearing, or if they, I don't know what the their rules are, the HOA would know more than
Because that can get very expensive
Oh,
with the,
with taking them down and replacing them. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the suggestions as outlined for 3663 Summit View?
Sure.
Can I get a second?
Can I second it?
Yes, you can.
I will second that.
All right, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. So we got a sure from Edith, and a can I second that from Pat?
Yes, you sound so professional.
You guys were very official. All right, so now we are on to 21067, which is the property on 3548 County Road 16 for Nikki and Connor Boyer. All right, so this one, and you guys, I have a brief little write-up and summary of that. Did you get my email that I sent?
Yes.
Yes, and we put your, did you, yeah, you sent pictures.
Yeah, did you?
They're in
send them
there,
already?
yeah, they're in there.
I sent them late because I forgot to put it
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, they were late, but we got it
You guys
in.
are
Thank
good.
you, Michelle, for doing it.
Thanks, Michelle. That's why I emailed them. I'm like, if the worst case scenario is just pulling up an email.
Yeah, we got them.
So this is the property, and this is the interesting spot on, this is the Zahn residence on County Road 16. And you have the 3 homes, and I only have a picture of this one, we can pull the other up on Encore, that are all pretty close to each other, one in the front, one here, and then there's one off to the side. They're proposing a single stage addition on this side of the property, right about 1,000 square feet. Basically, it will be an in-law, it'll be a mother-in-law living area. So as you can see, the property slopes behind. You have, pretty decent hilltop back here. You have a pretty decent hilltop here, and the driveway does slope down. Will tie into the existing sewer system. The drainage attaches to and leads into another swale that is between the properties over on this side. So there's a property right past these trees here. So they are proposing also as part of their plan to create a swale drainage from behind here to bring all the way around and to connect into the existing swale in between the 2 properties that the house already uses, but they just want to make sure, and they just need to extend it through this way. There's the overhead view. As you can see, it's a pretty significant hilltop behind. The addition will not interfere with anything here. They're basically just taking this area here, so they will not be cutting into the steeper back slope.
is the addition at the lower level or at the upper level? Or both?
The addition is this area right here.
Is the floor down at the lower level or
The
is it
floor
at
will be, the floor will be even with the first floor of the house.
down where the patio is?
Yeah.
So they're gonna do more excavation. They're gonna
they'll have-
excavate that. whole
Yeah,
thing.
they'll have, this will all be excavated down to be able to fit what they need.
So is there gonna be a retaining wall or is it, well, we can look at the
They don't
site
have-
plan.
There are no plans for a retaining wall. This is just, you have natural vegetation. You have some rocks interspersed in there. It's a gradual slope. It is quite a bit higher, but it's a gradual slope going down. So they currently don't have a retaining wall.
So the addition will not have windows out towards the north, right? It'll just have windows on the east and west, is that right? Yeah, north.
On the north side here, the north, which the north.
The north is
no,
into the bank. In other words, they're cutting into the bank
They're
for this
cutting in-
addition. So
They're
the,
cutting into the bank, but they're moving it back. So they will have,
We have elevations, Sarah.
yeah, I think some of the
Yeah,
elevations
these
on there.
are,
Those are new.
yeah, these are very new.
Yeah, so we can pull those up. But they will have first floor windows on that northern side, I would assume.
let's look at them on the screen so everybody else can see.
Are these in here, John?
They should be. These are new-ish. They're probably.
Where are they? I didn't see them. when I looked
Under lot
earlier.
line adjustment architectural plans.
Right there.
Next
The
one.
next-
Oh, yeah.
You can try that.
There's a lot of items on that list.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Mhm.
Well, they also had their lot line adjustment, so that's.
Yeah, so this one, yeah, I didn't mention
Yeah.
the initial part of this. This is like, yeah, anyway, that doesn't matter. So as you can see, here's the proposed addition. Sorry, guys. Get away. So the addition, it's not going to exceed the current height of the home. Elevation will match.
Sheet 5. Up 1.
So this is from the back.
Yeah, that's the rear.
So this is where that existing deck was.
Mhm.
And it will come out of here. Looks like a basement window. By depth, it looks like it could be a full basement underneath. So that is the rear elevation, and again, there's the front elevation. And so to answer that question, so this looks. So it looks like no windows on that right side then, like you had mentioned.
There are
Like
no
you had asked
windows
about
on the
Sarah
right.
Linda.
No,
So
right.
this would be the north elevation, so no windows on the north elevation of the property.
There.
So that's the north side. So this, we're looking at that, looking at the new part, the new addition part right there. All right. I think that's about it. Let me pull that on Encore. And the number is. So as you can see, the parcel, this parcel here doesn't matter for us. I mean, this is family in this parcel. They are just taking a piece of that. And this lot line will be adjusted slightly to fit within the setbacks for the addition and the property line. Because the line is pretty close. It's right on the edge for this. So they're just taking a little piece back there for the lot line. That's just a little standard thing. A little closer. Swale area will come in and will tie right in. So it looks like we have some swale there that continues down through here. So if I can find my, no,
Here's some extra
I
copies.
made, yeah, I think I have some right for them. So they are current conditions, it's a 1900 plus or about a 1900 square foot single family home. It's in the residential lake district, SR 130. It is on a steep slope. And it does drain to the neighboring swale at 3546. And it does have, on County Road 16, it does have county sewer right there. So they're proposing about a 1,013 square foot addition. Will blend in with the current structure. It's less than 25 feet in height. Because of the lot line, there are no variance setbacks that are needed. They are, as part of the construction process, they will be using their silt fence in addition to a sediment sock around the base of that for any runoff to contain anything, because it is steep during the construction period. The contractor is proposing there's a 12-inch drain pipe as part of their drain system, as part of their drainage to move the water away. He will clean that as part of the process as needed to make improvements on that. A 3.5 foot swale on the western side of the property. So this western side back here, a swale coming around the addition to take that water away, to connect it to the existing. Since the back is close to a 25-degree incline, 25-degree slope on the back portion. But the steepest of that slope will not be encroached by the addition, except to create the swale to channel the water around. They'll also have the needed concrete washout areas away from any potential runoff. So the concerns, the DEC, there's a letter from the DEC signing off on the scope of the project, but they recommend careful attention to the water discharge that will be created. Hence the recommendation for the wider swale to be able to tap into the other one. And we definitely the concern, because it is RLD and steep slope, stormwater and erosion. So the recommendations are to continue strict adherence to their silt fence and drain sock location, to ensure that the swale on the western side is sufficiently sized for the extra water that it could potentially pick up as you are changing and you're cutting into that a little bit. And then recommend evaluating the existing swale to make sure it's sufficient to handle the project with any extra water that could come from that, any extra water that might pull off and pour it on there. So that is all that I have for that one.
I have a question on this. If I understand this right, the site work for it is partly on the adjacent property to the north,
Mhm.
not on this. And that property is owned by a family member, so they're sort of treating it all as a single site.
No, well, they did a lot line adjustment. So
But even with the lot line adjustment means the addition will fit without variances and so on.
Mhm.
But they're still taking this swale around onto the neighboring property. So there is going to be some drainage onto an adjacent property.
Can you see
And-
the engineer's plan? Site plan,
Well,
site plan on top there. That's it.
That's why you're here, because you know all the keywords to look for. Hmm.
Oh, I'm glad I'm good for something.
So which one do we want?
One of them's probably existing conditions, and then there's probably the design page after that. It might be number
That's
two.
our existing. Doesn't look like much is on that one. Final site plan.
That's just saying everything that they're planning to do.
Yeah, you can see it grading.
Yeah,
Well, the lot line there is, oh, I see. What we were looking at before was the Encore map, which has the old lot line. So
Yeah,
this
the
is
lot
the
line
new
doesn't-
lot
the lot
line.
line has not been updated on our report.
I see. Okay,
But
so you've got this little jog coming up to the north
Yep.
to accommodate this. And is the new swale entirely within this property?
Yes, so they're not adding anything onto the neighboring property. They're
I
just
see.
using. I would say it's an existing condition that they are continuing to use. Because regardless, the swale, the drainage from this property taps into the swale on the adjoining property.
So where does the swale end up at the bottom of the hill? Where does it go into Westlake Road? Whose property is that on? Is it on this?
Wow. Great question.
It's a shared driveway, right? So there's a right of way or
So
something.
driveway's right here. Here's the other driveway. So it comes right.
Driveway agreement.
Go under.
Yeah, and I don't, yeah, it could go under.
Might help to look at the photograph again.
I did not, we'll look here, because I didn't get anything from the road.
I still have a little bit of a cough. Okay. I'm on, they gave me 2 more.
So here is the neighboring parcel, and here is their parcel. And it runs through here, I cannot see. That's fairly steep right there, right in that area.
Mhm.
So it comes down, it might go underneath here. So I don't know if it goes underneath there or where.
Well, I think there's a ditch on the north side there. That's where the drainage is. And then eventually it goes down to Butler Road and into the lake. But,
What's it say on like the soil and erosion control paperwork, that application portion of the application, what is intended for the runoff? That would
I
be
know it's here, so.
soil and erosion app, it should be in there. See what's the
Go
site
up.
checklist, 2 above secret, that one there.
I've got site checklists, oh,
That
there,
one.
yeah. I know I looked
That
at it.
should say, that should say how it's gonna be handled. Does it direct drain off-site, drains to a existing swale, do
Yeah.
additional drainage directly there?
Starts at swale to west side of Westlake Road.
There will be an increased, because of the increased roof space.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, my concern is you're doing something that affects a waterway on somebody else's property. And, you know, it might be fine now since it's your brother-in-law or whatever, but if they were unrelated owners, there could be some bad neighborly
you're
feeling
not
there.
really Supposed to be putting drainage, put water onto somebody else's property, changing it.
Right.
Or direction. And it's, yeah, while they're all family, that's one thing. When the properties sell, then, you know, somebody's.
Well, I mean, one way to resolve it would be to have the lot line adjustment generous enough so that the entire swale goes onto the property of the person who's creating the new
But that
drainage.
other property drains into that swale as well, and if they're both using the common swale, I mean, I'm just, it's a pre-existing situation. So we're not gonna change the pre-existing situation.
But you are changing it by increasing the amount of drainage going into it. So maybe it requires a legal agreement between the 2 property owners so that it's acknowledged that this change affects both of them and they're both owners, say you know, we recognize it's been engineered, the ditch is big enough, we don't think it's gonna be a problem, and
This will be looked at by town engineer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they'll have some,
I was just
they'll
gonna say
definitely
that.
have
They'll
something
have
to
some
say
comments.
about that, I would think, MRP group should.
But we
Yeah.
can, I mean, you
We
can
can
make a
add,
note.
we can make a note and add in there
Yeah.
to ensure that both parties sign off on the fact that there will be an increased amount of drainage
Mhm.
going to the existing swale. And that it continues, that it's mentioned, if it's mentioned in there, I don't know if they need a legal agreement or anything if it were to sell, but that would almost be like an easement on your property,
Mhm.
a drainage easement that's there.
Well, lots of things work very well if it's the same family and everything.
Mhm.
Somebody dies or property changes hands, then it all gets banned. It's, it happens a lot.
So you get all that, does that make sense? Okay, did you get it? Okay, so we'll make note of that, so when the engineers go through and for the final project approval, that it just, that's mentioned and to make sure that they have that in the document.
You know, since we're getting 100-year storms about every other
yeah.
year.
Just out of curiosity, is there, from looking at the aerials and the site plans, is there any pathway from that large drainage basin to the west that runs on either of those properties? Or is there an outflow or anything that you're aware of?
Not picturing what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a
That
big.
that would be behind,
Yeah, it's to the west of that property.
Right, big old-
Right up there here.
There,
Right there.
yeah,
Well, there's probably groundwater influence from.
yeah.
Mhm. Who owns that?
Yeah, can you click on that? I was just gonna ask who owns that.
Is that the HOA?
it's part of East Ridge Run.
Yeah,
Yeah, Fox's homeowners owns it.
Yeah.
so that is that the massive retention pond? No, I'm thinking of the
A
other one.
couple of them in there.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the other one that's on Riley's Run. So, yeah.
It's just, I would like, I mean, something to be aware of if they're doing stuff, it'll change, you know, the flow of water over the land. If that thing has any spill areas in there, I mean, that's a potential source for just adding to their headache.
Mhm.
If it goes through that area, I don't know though, if it does.
Yeah, I don't know if it,
Or if it
I
goes in
don't
the
know if
ground or
that's, if that's an overflow right there, maybe?
Yeah, it looks like an overflow catchment from the basin above it, but I don't know if they try to sink it in the ground or what.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, it was just curiosity from looking at the
Yeah,
area
no.
stuff of that property.
Yeah, good point.
So what happens when everybody wants to live in the same area. You keep growing right up and you share an awful lot of stuff. All right,
So
any
we
other-
have a lot more water in the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, maybe we can truck it out.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we can put it in
We'll put it
tankers.
back into the Colorado
Put it in
River.
Pipe it
tankers,
back
and
out.
we'll just dump it down into Lake Mead and everywhere else. And,
It's funny how that is. isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Has so much
Salt
water
Lake
in one
can-
place. now.
Salt Lake can use some water too, because that thing's drying up. So, all right, any other comments? And thank you for your comments, everyone, on that and suggestions. All right, can I get a motion to approve the suggestions for 3548 County Road 16?
I will move.
Okay, can I get a second?
Suggestions.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, next one is mine as well, and that is Acorn Hill Drive, 3895. Of the amazing people here who deal with my last minute things, my last minute oh no's. It should be in there. When we get into
I didn't see a
unfortunate.
house plan on that one. Can we get a house plan?
There is not.
There is
Not
not one
yet.
yet.
House plan yet, so I'll just kind of be able to go through the information on this one. So this is a single stage plan for a single family residence. 3895. And this is, on Lee is the one
Harder
who's,
for me, yeah.
yeah, who's building it, and, this is gonna be his. For what the explanation is. So it's R130. There is a gentle slope on the property from front to back. The peak slope is about 8%.
That's the one.
Harder for only.
Yeah, so go ahead and click on this.
Site plan, right?
Yeah, we'll do the site plan and then I'll show you the picture, because the house is not, you don't see any of it on the
No, no.
plan.
That dated 20th should be.
8.3.
That's the right one.
Okay. So, yeah, actually, the house is on there. Just
Well, yeah, but we don't have
architectural-
elevations.
We don't have elevations of it. You can see it's not a huge lot. It's really the last buildable one in that area. So this is his proposed home. Attached garage, septic system is shown here on the back portion of the property. So that's what we're looking at. Let's see, so there's a gentle slope, it's about a 10-foot drop from the front of the property to the back. So it's about 8 degrees. It has moderate drainage, Honeywell low moderate drainage. But one concern is the erosion. It's not too steep. And walking it, it doesn't feel very steep at all. So there aren't any huge concerns or red flags for that. So the scope of the work is to clear and prep the lot for a single family home, including their silt fence and their washout area. There will be a dry well installed, and that is N right here. So they're installing a dry well to take all of the drainage and all of the water from the roof line right into there. So that's the dry that. And it's well within property setbacks, and it's well below any lot coverage limits. So there's their dry well. I want to say that is their washout area. right
The
by the
washouts in
road,
the front, yeah.
right there. Okay. So let's go to some pictures. All right, so this is taken from the road looking into the property. There are a lot of mature trees that ring the property. In the area in the middle, this is the back septic, where they're proposing the septic along the back. You can see that they've cleared that a little bit. It's mainly just scrub and underbrush. There are some larger trees that have been taken down in years past, and from the looks of the stumps, they've been there for a while. Again, this area here in the middle is the area that where he's proposing the home. Now, you wouldn't need to clear any of the trees. You can see there's a lot of mature oaks all the way around. Hence the name.
That's a good thing.
Yes, hence the acorn. And when the wind blows, the acorns fall. And there's a view looking to the south on the land on the property as well.
It's a nice lot.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
A lot of mature trees going along that.
Yes, go ahead and deer heaven. I
Yeah.
like those acorns.
And there's some of the trees that you can see that were taken out.
Yeah.
And that's not new. That was a while back. From the looks of it.
Is this on the downhill side of Acorn Hill Drive?
Yeah, the east
It's on the
side.
east
On the
side.
lake
It's on the
side,
east side,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And as you guys know, Acorn, it's a tough spot. Acorn Hill is because of their elevation and because they don't have sewer.
They're so close too.
Oh,
Where
I know.
there's
They're
sewer
so
on both.
close.
So,
We're
yeah,
on both sides.
They are, I mean, they're all
There are-
surrounded by sewer.
if you ever want to talk to anybody about sewer, go talk to people who live on Acorn Hill and how there's sewer here and there's sewer here, but not sewer there.
Yeah, or talk to George Barton, watch him wave his arms.
Yeah,
Watch, like-
Yeah. Mhm. Okay, so as you can see from the look, we're going a little closer, you can see lots of mature trees along the outside. They should not be disturbed, and the recommendation will be to make sure that those trees stay as much as possible. And where the home looks to sit was chosen because of its, because it's just scrub and it's just undergrowth. So again, the concerns wooded lot, the lot does slope down from Acorn Hill and it sits slightly above the neighboring lot to the east. So drainage and natural sheeting will carry any runoff to the adjoining property, but we do have a pretty significant absorption area to get down to that spot. So nothing, and because of the slope, I don't see anything serious needed for that. Look to keep its recommendations would be look to keep as many mature trees as possible. In addition to the dry well, again, keep as much of a buffer of mature trees and vegetation along the east edge to gather any general property runoff that might work its way that direction, which will work its way to that direction.
That house that's to the right of the parcel,
This one,
does that come off of Whiteful's Road?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see, okay.
this is the last.
That's a long
house-
driveway.
This is the last house that would, on this side, that would come off of Acorn Hill. This one comes in right here off of Whiteful's and that one.
Oh, I see, it's
is a
close to
longer,
Whiteful's.
like a little right there.
So this is a pretty-
He did that, we did that.
On Lee did this one,
5027, beautiful home.
yeah. So,
This looks like a small lot compared to the surrounding ones, is that
yeah,
right?
it's a little smaller, but on this side.
Oh, those are, oh, I see, it's similar to
size.
those. So it's in compliance with the minimum lot.
Yeah, so it's similar size to the other ones
I see.
on this side, not on the west side. Any other questions or comments on that one? So just the only two, keep as many mature trees as possible. And try to keep the buffer of vegetation along that east side, sitting above the, sitting above, a little bit above the neighbor on that side. All right. Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the recommendations for 3895 Acorn Hill?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Hi.
All right, thank you. All right, on to our last one, Sir Linda.
This is, it doesn't have a number, but it's on Westlake Road, south of Foster Road. So if you just go down there, well, you can go with the tax map number. 126.20.
126.
Point 20-1-17.1.
They'll put the points in there, periods.
Oh, did I not do that?
No.
No, I did do this one.
Or just keep going, yeah, just go down until you pass Foster Road. And I'll keep going south. More. There, okay, there you go. Now, a little bit more. So
Which one?
Right in there.
it's those 4 lots, yeah.
4.
And what's to the north of them is the Notre Dame property. And so if you're going down Westlake Road and on your right, you remember the Christ the Redeemer statue up there blessing the waters.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, there is a stretch of about 1,000 feet of these undeveloped lots. And behind them, there are some homes that are already, that have access from the south end of this group of 4 lots. So that's a property that's been, those lots have been for sale for years and years. And now all of a sudden, somebody seems to be finally made up their minds to develop it. It is, I don't know much of the background. The site plan and the application essentially say, we want to create an access road so that we can get in there. That they don't say that this is going to be the driveway for these 4 homes in the future, although it makes you kind of wonder, is that what they have in mind, or do they have in mind 3 separate, or 4 separate driveways, each coming off Westlake Road.
They would never get those.
They
They
would-
would for the spacing.
It's too steep, isn't it?
Yeah, they can't. That's why this is going in the back.
So
Yeah,
the intent is for this access road to become a common driveway? Is that, because it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 'cause you've gotta have,
So we have,
that property's too.
Did you work with, with an existing survey, did you bring one in?
yeah, we've got, yeah, this would be a common drive. The proposed homes, although we had him take them off because that's not what's coming. I don't know if they're up there, but probably not. You can see on this plan where they're looking to site the homes.
But that's not on the board site?
Just the
No,
driveway
because we're
area.
not, they're gonna have to come in for individual site plans, so this is just for the driveway.
Calendar design, that's the one site plan.
Data.
Yeah, this is a whole.
Remember the details.
The details is just
All
what's
the
going in the
papers.
ground.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
this
what
is,
you want.
okay.
Yeah.
But that one, so the colors on that indicate the slopes, but they don't cover the whole site. They only just cover the portion where the drive is proposed. The green is, I think, what is it, 8 to 15% slope. The red is above 25% slope. The yellow, if I'm
The
remembering right,
is
yellow is
20, green is
is-
15. Red is
steeper.
25.
And what's the blue? The blue is 20 to 25?
Green is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Maximum 15 is green.
So generally it's steepest close to Westlake Road and it gradually, levels out as you get up towards the top. And if you look at the Encore map and in the context of what's across the road there, let's take a look at Encore because that gives a better idea of the surroundings. So, yeah, zoom out. So you can see there are a couple of driveways where Vista Drive comes in. Vista Drive serves a number of parcels to the south, but then there are also a couple driveways that go up to the north to the land that's behind these 4 lots. And then on the other side of Westlake Road, there are also a group of lots between Westlake Road and Davidson Avenue. And those also have been for sale for years and now they're starting to sell. Some of them have new homes on them. Some of them are still undeveloped, but they're even steeper. That's really steep there. And I think we've seen some applications for the homes down on Davidson Landing with the experience of lots of runoff coming down that slope. And then they have to contend with the runoff and getting it around their new houses and so on. So it's an area where drainage is a potential problem. So the site plan has this new road coming up more or less along the line between the southernmost lot and the second lot to the south. And then it kind of hugs the back of the parcel and ends at the northernmost one. 3 of the lots are right around 1 acre and the 4th lot, the one that is northernmost, is about 1.5 acres. So I did take some pictures. You want to go to those and just see what the terrain and the vegetation is like. This is looking to the north. And so you can see it's kind of low scrubby trees, nothing you would call mature woods, although on the maps, the open space plan, it does call it successional northern hardwood, but I would say if that's what they want to call it, it's a very young northern hardwood. And there's a lot of just sort of weedy trees there in the, let's say 20 to 30 foot height range. The next photo shows the clearing, the initial clearing for the road. Well, no, that's, okay, that's looking south from in front of where the statue is. And then the third photo. Is from the road looking up into the clearing. They've only gone, this far. They haven't, unless I just can't see it, they haven't started the other part of the clearing yet, but they're making a very wide swath, way wider than they need to for just a 14-foot wide driveway. This struck me as more like a 50-foot clearing. And I was curious, if you go back to the site plan now, there's a reference to the edges of the mowing limit. You see those sort of wavy lines that,
On the edge right here.
yeah, that one of them comes up, and then there's that sort of blob in the middle has a mowing limit line around it, and there's a mowing limit line kind of near the lower part of the green. So I don't understand what that means. I'm guessing it means that everything on the driveway side of those mowing limits lines is going to be cleared, because that's where the future house sites are, and that everything that's on the outside of that mowing limit lines, the existing vegetation is going to remain, but that's just a guess. I think that's a question that the town should ask if they haven't already asked that.
I think you might be wanting to do like a staging area to pull equipment up there. So they have a clear area so that they can park some things while they're getting ready to do that driveway, maybe. Maybe that's why they're mowing over so much, possibly.
That's possible. But it does kind of suggest that the ultimate intent is to essentially clear those entire parcels. And if you look at the land, go back to the Encore and look at the development to the south of the whole top of that hill is single-family homes, and they're pretty much all cleared. And the thing that people like about them is they get a great view of the lake. So presumably that's what these guys have in mind. But again, that's just a guess, and I think that the planning board should bring that up and try to establish some ground rules, at the outset, if we would like to encourage them to retain some of the existing trees. They should be marked, they should be protected, they should be identified on the site plan, and they should obviously allow for the house construction to take place. But if the town would like to see existing trees retained, this would be the time to bring it up. So to go through the draft here, these 4 lots have a dense growth of successional shrub and immature hardwood forest, farmed up to the mid-20th century. I'm pretty sure this was farmland up to the 50s anyway. 3 lots are approximately 1 acre. The 4th is 1.5. The proposed field access road passes up the slope through the westernmost of the 4 lots, then extends to the north across the high end of the other 3. A 14-foot wide gravel drive with drainage swale and check dams is proposed, passing through about 100 feet of a steep slope area at the road end, and then up to a flatter area at the upper end of the sloped site. A swath within the southernmost lot has been cleared already. So some suggested questions for the planning board. Is this the proposed path of the future common driveway? And Shauna says yes. What is the intent of the mowing limits line? If the intent is to clear the site beyond the mowing limits indicator, what provisions are proposed for erosion control? Is the existing drainage ditch on the west side of County Road 16 along this subdivision adequate to handle the additional runoff? And I know the county has been working on that ditch over the course of the last year or so. They've added some riprap, they've cleared out the ditch. I mean, maybe it's in anticipation of this subdivision, I don't know, but I know they've been up there. They were up there a lot this spring and last year even. This is a site with some slope in excess of 15% and with downhill properties along Davidson Landing, which are more steeply sloped and which experience periodic flooding. ECB requests additional information from the applicant on the intended extent of clearing for future development and on related drainage provisions to protect Westlake Road and downhill properties. Recommendation, ECB recommends the town require and review a sketch plan for future development of the site prior to approval of this preliminary roadway with particular attention to compliance with the steep slopes law.
Any other comments? Any other questions on that? Okay, so I think it'll be insignificant. To have the, like Sarah Linda said, have the planning board try to tease out exactly, what the, ultimately what the thought is. And what the end game is for those parcels.
I mean, if the ECB wanted to, we could put in a statement saying we encourage the preservation and protection of, a significant number of the existing trees on the site,
Right.
particularly in the steep slope section, which of
There
course
are-
is also right in the view because it's closest to the road, but
Right,
still.
that whole, that whole front, that front part. They have to make sure that's in there to encourage. As much of that as possible on that. All right, any other questions or comments on that one? Thanks for doing that. Can I get a motion to approve these suggestions and further recommendations on the County Road 16 property 071? Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The property reviews. All right, so now for the newsletter, Kevin was able to get something worked up for the newsletter.
Awesome.
Kevin Mulvaney did it because he was already doing some work on Bloom on water quality. And he had already sent some things that I'm sure you guys saw them. I thought we had we had algae blooms that were huge, but it was just watermelon,
What are
whatever.
those called? The,
Yeah, so I learned something new.
I didn't know that
And
either.
yeah,
So it
so
was like a false alarm.
it was a false alarm, but it's like. you
They
silly
were,
people-
what is the name of them?
Duckweed.
Duckweed, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Duckweed and water meal. They're
Yep.
two things. Yeah.
So there have been sightings of those, but those aren't anything to worry about, but Kevin was able to get that. So the September article is taken care of. October is recycling pumpkins, leaves, and potentially Christmas trees.
I don't want to think about Christmas.
It's like, I'm waiting to see Santa Claus next time I go to Lowe's. I'm sure it's
Oh.
gonna be there.
Halloween
What's
candy's
Halloween?
out.
Halloween candy's out.
Right after the 4th of July.
That's true.
Come on, people.
Mhm.
Any volunteers for October?
I have such a good idea for November, so.
Yeah. I'll work on it, but if anyone else wants to chime
Okay.
in, I'll be accepting of anything anyone wants to send my way.
Okay, so put Pat down for that.
Okay, for November, I would like to do something on no child left indoors.
Oh, great idea.
Have you read Last Child in the Woods?
No, sounds good.
That's a good one. That's such a good one.
Yeah, well.
So NCLID. No child left indoors. Okay,
Mhm,
so a
mhm.
little bit different than NCLB.
Yeah, Last Child in the Woods.
Yeah.
I'll look for the book.
Let's get them outside.
Mhm.
Right.
Outside.
Mhm.
And then once we roll through fall, once I get through the start of school and get my legs back under me, I'll update to composting and recycling for the fall. So I'll throw some leaves and some other stuff in there. leaves and pumpkins and Christmas trees
Why not? Chipmunk.
and the chipmunk. And I will be, as part of, the biodiversity activity, I'm going to be taking these and I'm gonna be putting them in each one of the science rooms at the middle school.
Oh, perfect.
And I'll even send them up to the high school to get, because I'm sure there are some high school kids, and I'm sure Dave Platten and his ecology and his outdoor classes would be all over this.
Mhm.
So we'll get these up there and put them in the classes, and also the spotted lantern fly, just to make them aware. We can put some of those around in there as well. Get them up in there, and that's probably the place in town that's gonna get the most eyes on it.
Yeah.
People are gonna see those the most.
Hmm.
So I think we're good with the website updates.
I've started to put together some of those other pages.
Okay,
So,
perfect. And the biodiversity is running. I did not get it. I've been working on some other articles and other things, so I didn't put anything in yet for biodiversity activity. But I'm hoping getting these out there will getting these in front of the kids will get some people, get some activity and get some action on that.
They can be even done over the winter, so there's no.
Yeah, it can be done all the time. And now, we have these too, so if anybody, did you send that copy to everyone?
I did not.
So if you want
But
to send it to
I'll-
everyone, then, if anybody wants to share it on social media, just put it out there. I'm sure we can drum up some support and some interest from that.
We can distribute it on the 22nd too.
Mhm.
Yes, we can have some copies of it.
Mhm.
Right, and one other thing, have you heard any more about Halloween in
No,
Renanda? A yes or a no?
I've heard yes until we hear no.
Right, all right, so status quo, this is
Yeah,
our life, yes,
yep.
plan on it until you can't.
Plan until it's canceled. Yeah.
Perfect, just what I love to hear. Just what I love to hear, okay. So, then we'll keep planning on being able to have some handouts and some information there for the rain barrels. As long as we have it.
Right.
As long as we still have it, and if not, we'll just have to do it a different way, at the transfer station or something like that. So we can wait and see what happens rather than getting ahead of ourselves. Anything from the CIC?
We have a meeting next week,
You do, yeah, next
first Tuesday.
right after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
we're looking forward to some great things coming back from that one, Pat.
Well, we'll see what we're gonna talk about.
Anything from the history team?
One thing that has a little bearing on our discussion last time about the budget, and that is, I think I mentioned, the history team is working a little bit on this idea of upgrading the kiosk at Ononda Park, where there are some panels that are in the little open pavilion that's right across from the entrance. And there are 3 panels there, and our idea was, let's make one of them that has to do with the history of the park, and then maybe work with other parties to do something on the other 2 panels. One would be about recreation activities at the park, and one would be about natural history. So I've talked with Edith about the natural history one. She has some good ideas, and also Dennis Brewer, and also Lindsay Frary, who is the new parks person with the town. And Lindsay, so our thought was, well, the ECB hasn't spent the history team hasn't spent its money yet this year, so we would try to do it this year and get it in by the end of the year. When I talked with Lindsay, I learned that there's a big master plan for Ononda Park going on. The Parks Committee is looking for public feedback about new and different things that might be desired at Ononda Park. And part of this comes from a trail issue, which is, turns out some of the trails are actually on the adjacent property. So that kind of discouraged me about the idea of making a big map with the trails shown, because the trails are going to move. They're going to realign the trails to make sure that they're back onto the parcel. So I started thinking, well, maybe, and Lindsay seemed to think this whole new master plan could take, a year, or it's not something that's going to happen right away. So does that need to defer our whole project? I don't know, maybe at least the trails map part of it
Do the
does.
other part.
But
Do
the other
history
parts,
one.
yeah, maybe the history one could go ahead, and maybe the one about natural history could go ahead too, because that would be just general information about the vegetation, the terrain, the wildlife, and what you can do in the different seasons, the wildflowers, the flowering trees. I mean, there's just all kinds of great stuff.
It'd be very
So,
difficult to narrow it down. in that
right,
area, there's so
right.
much,
And then the map one, some of that information could be sort of held off until
Right.
the third one with the map and the new trail locations and any improvements that might get made are done.
Now,
So-
also, you could also do a scan
And
code
we-
on the display.
That's right. We
The
talked,
ever-changing.
yeah, we were
It could
thinking
be
about that
updated
You
too.
could
instead of
update that.
The QR code, yeah.
Instead of the actual map, and then
Um,
it could, then it's all the way,
Yeah, that's an option too, to keep that.
Well, that's true, but it'd be nice to have a real map there. that,
Right,
you know,
right, but you could do
eventually,
real-time updates on your
Right.
your QR.
Right. So anyway, if there is sufficient interest in trying to push this ahead and actually get these panels made, and then they're not terribly expensive, they're like a couple $100 each. So maybe we could aim for it, and maybe the ECB would like to pay for the natural history one, and then the history team pays for one of them, and then we leave the parks department to pay for the other one when and if the
When
time
that
finally
one's done.
comes.
yeah, we could do that if that's something that needs to get done this year. If the history team is gonna plan on moving that through for this year, we could like last time, we were looking for things to allocate that money to. We can always adjust that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't think anybody's would be too heartbroken if we adjusted that. I mean, we're all flexible. None of us were too attached to. We have
Right,
good
we
ideas. so
wanna
we
do
could
something,
adjust it,
yeah.
Yeah,
well, we had, what, 600 for trees,
we had trees and we had,
and then the other
trees and
set,
barrels.
so we could do, maybe take 200
Yeah.
or 100 from
100
each.
from each one and we can make it work and,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if anybody would like to, help to kind of write up some drafts of it and do graphics, I think we need to identify somebody with the graphic skills to lay out all three of them and make them all look like a set, and then tailor them to the subject matter. So, but I think we've still got 4 months, so
Mhm.
I think that project is doable as long as a few people are willing to spend some time on it.
Get that, and then anything from the tree ward?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have, done some discussions. We are going to be trucking along some of the trails, peanut line, etc. And then checking those things out. And that recently, looking at some things. We continue to be urging care of some of the ash trees that overhang drive-ins at parks and cemeteries, because those are hazards, in a word. And I know that it's a very busy season right now. for People who do that kind of work, but we've seen some things come down in the winds. It is concerning.
Anybody have anything else? We have one. I got an email from the New York State Association of Conservation Commissions asking if it was basically, dear chair, why would, we've noticed, why haven't you joined and paid dues?
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if it's something that would be, I can forward this off to everybody, so when you see it, you'll know what it is. I'd be interested in your input. It's $75. And this is 50th year. It's an advisory commission that works throughout the state. It's a .org organization. They send out updates, they do community outreach, they have educational information. So when you see something from me about the environment, the dues for the commission, just realize it's this. So I'll just forward it off to everybody and then look for your input to see if we want to spend, it's $75 for a year, which isn't anything outrageous, but if we think there's anything worth it, if it's not worth it, then. Okay, anything else for the good of the order? Anything else for privilege of the floor? Yes, that we don't have. All right, thank you, those of you who are joining us online. And thanks for your input, everyone. And, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
All right, can I get a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, 6:07. All right, thank you, everybody.
Shauna, if you can remember where the spotted lanternfly was that you saw, let me know, because I'll follow up with the DEC. I mean, they definitely would be all over it if there really is one, a site here in the county.